Well, hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jessica Leichtweisz, and I'm the CEO of Hope Education Services. I'm trained using an ABA approach, but I'm a big believer in the spirit of collaboration, that if we want to meet a child's needs, we have to address it from all areas. So I often bring on different professionals that are in related fields to make sure as a parent you know exactly how to help your child with autism. So today I'm super excited to bring on Ann Page from the Beautiful Speech Life, and she's going to come on here and she's just going to share some tips and strategies on how to make communicating with your child fun and make sure the activities we're doing are bringing joy to your family. So thanks so much, Ann, for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks so much for asking me. I work with a lot of students who have autism, and so I feel like it's so important. I work in a school, so I'm a school-based SLP, and I feel like it's so important for all of the professionals that are on the students' team to work together and include the parents who are such an integral part of the team. Because let's face it, you as a parent are the ones that is going to spend the most time with this child. So I think it's really important to consider what the child is excited about. So find a topic that is of interest to them and maybe start with that. I'm a big proponent in adding visuals to communication, especially if you have a nonverbal child. You're going to want to add visuals and start thinking about possibly adding in some AAC if that's been talked about. And even if it hasn't, the visuals can really help because you're adding in that extra modality of communication.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, two of my core values of my company, and I have four core values, and two of them are collaborating with other professionals and using a family-centered approach. And I let parents know all the time, you know, if you can't do what we're doing when we leave, and if you don't know what we're doing or how to do it, your child's not going to benefit nearly as much. And I also truly believe that kids have to have fun. You know, kids learn most when they're interested in what they're doing, and the more fun a child has, the more likely they're going to be attentive to what you're doing, the more effort they're going to put into it. And honestly, the more fun it's going to be for everyone, the parent, the teacher, the practitioners, the child. So what are some tips that you can give parents to make sure that the child's having fun while they're learning?
Well, I would say one of them, I'm just looking up, I have this letter board here and it says, beginning communicators talk about their own topic first. So pick something that they're excited about. So say for example, if your child gets really excited about cars, then we're going to use cars to be our prop for communication. And then there are so many things that we can make the car do. We're going to get right on their level and join their space instead of demanding that they join ours. So if they're more comfortable sitting on the floor, then we could join them there and gently kind of enter into their space. And then maybe if we have a car and we're making it go, or we're adding more cars, and we just choose some words that we're going to focus on, some core words, and then we can. So if you have a communication board, there are so many of these, but say if you are using a communication board, then you're going to point to the word as you say it. All right, let's make the car go. Wow, look at it go. And it can be that simple. Keep it animated. Do not demand that they reciprocate the communication at first. Just you're putting that vocabulary into their head and giving them that exposure.
Yeah, and now children with autism are often very, very interested in one specific thing. So kids might be really interested in animals or really interested in trains or numbers or letters. And a lot of times, especially people that are trained in ABA like myself will tell parents, well, we have to stop this because this is an autistic stimming behavior, which is true, but we don't have to stop it. We can actually use it. Now, there are some extreme situations where I've seen, for example, like a child who was so kind of interested in numbers and letters that he would stop walking in the street or throw himself on the floor in the street, presenting a very serious safety issue, when walking down Manhattan. At the time I was working in Manhattan. Obviously that's a really extreme example, but if your child is super interested in something, it's an amazing opportunity to teach language. And I always tell parents that you can only teach one thing at a time. You can teach either a language, or you can teach either behavior. So I could either teach your child to stop labeling numbers or letters, or I could teach them to talk and use it as a fantastic opportunities. So I'm always in agreement with that. I'm always, doing my best to get kids interested in what they're doing. I mean, would you agree that even for kids with autism that are perseverating on a behavior, that provides an opportunity to learn if therapists are doing it correctly?
Yes, for sure. And it's an opportunity, especially if you're working with the team, to kind of shape it, like use it as a motivational piece, and then eventually scaffold it and shape it into something that's broader, like a broader form of communication. So like, for example, I had a student that I worked with that really loved animals, and he wouldn't speak at all until we found that he was so fascinated with animals that we could get him to label animals. Well, of course, when we're doing communication, we want our kids to do more than label, but it's a start. And by using that with him, he was able to label I think like 20 or 30 different animals, and then he kept adding to it. And so then we could scaffold that skill by adding in another word, like maybe want cow, or I see cow, I see uh, animal. So you're just kind of adding on more meaning, and adding on to that behavior.
Yeah, I love to do that as well. And I have actually a child I work with right now where exactly the same thing. He's really interested in the animals. And now, one of we started off with like cow says moo, or like cow moo, cow says moo. Then I see, like you said, we did the see cow, I want cow. And one of the things that parents always ask about is, well, it's great that the child can label things, but what about, can they say hi and enter and exit when they come in the room? And for me, that's where I think the pretend play comes in. So you have like the cow, and the cow can say hi to the horse, and the cow can say hi to the bird. And I found from my experience, when you're using these strategies and making it fun, that oftentimes kids can generalize it, right? There's always this fear of like, will they be able to use it functionally? But, I find that kids do wind up generalizing and then using the skills in other ways. So do you have any strategies you can give parents on generalization? What pieces do you do for that of then, once you get that language, generalizing it to more social situations?
Well, I think that's where the core vocabulary words come in. And so when we're talking about, I know you know this, but when we're talking about core vocabulary, we are just talking about a set of words that have been proven, they're research-based, and they've been proven to be words that a typically developing child would be using these words to say about 80% of what they have to say. So these are words that can take your child across all different environments. Like, they would learn it in the living room, but be able to use it in the kitchen, be able to use it at school, be able to use it on the playground, in the car. And so there are a lot of action words, which are a little harder to learn, but because they have the multiple meanings, you have the chance to teach them in all of those different ways. And so, like, for example, let's say if we were going to use the word up, and the word up is considered a core vocabulary word. So we could use up in many different ways. If it was if it was a young child and then they wanted to get picked up and then do maybe like swing them or do something fun, or have a balloon, it's going up, pick things up. So you have repetition, 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 and then they have that chance to be able to learn it. in those different environments and start to generalize it.
Yeah, and that's some like really fantastic advice. And I tell parents the same thing all the time is it has to be fun. This should be a good experience. If this is stressful, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to be stressful as a parent, especially when you have a special needs child. But communication, learning to communicate, it doesn't need to be one of those things that's stressful. Like it definitely can be one of those activities that truly does bring you and your child joy.
Exactly. And then another tip I would say that I use is choose an activity that you do every day at home. Like it's not a speech related activity. It's just an activity that it's just part of your daily life. So maybe that's brushing your teeth. Like hopefully we're doing that at least twice a day, right? Maybe even 3 times a day. So if you can find some words to use while we are brushing our teeth, then think of all the times that they can repeat that. So if it was like, say, if it was going to be the word put, all right, we're going to brush our teeth. It's time to put some water on the toothbrush. Good job. Okay, now let's put the toothpaste on. Now let's put the toothbrush in our mouth. So you're getting like hundreds really of that repetition. So they're going to be able to see that. And then you're going to be able to use put for like, okay, let's put the toys away. Let's put the dishes away. So you can just kind of build on that skill so nicely.
Yeah, and that's so important for kids with autism because traditionally kids learn all the time from their environment. But children with autism, they often have an issue with processing sensory information. So that can mean something as simple, like you said, when they're brushing their teeth, that they don't naturally learn the experiences of language because maybe they're overly sensitive to the tactile sensations of their teeth. And so whereas another child might be able to focus on the language, it's very difficult for kids with autism to do that unless you're really making it very contrived for them. So, the best thing as a parent, I always say, yes, you want to do those speech activities, you want to do those learning activities, but you also do have to incorporate it into your everyday routine because that's the only way they're going to benefit from the same level as other kids typically are. So I think that's super important. And again, it's not the big things, it's like the little things. As a parent, it doesn't have to be super demanding for you. And it can be exhausting. I mean, we know because we do it all day, every day. It's exhausting. But, something as simple as, like you said, brush, on, put on. We're going to put toothpaste. Where's the toothpaste? Point this. There's the toothpaste. Good. Let's put it on. Can you say on? Look, it's on the toothbrush. I mean, it's tiring to walk around and do that all day, but it can really make the world of difference for a child.
Yes, exactly. And then if you think of maybe other activities like when they're getting dressed and you're using on and put, because we are putting on our shoes and our pants and our shirt. And then I think too, to try to encourage some social form of communication, even just commenting. So say if you're playing a game and you see that your child is smiling, then you can kind of walk him through your thought process, and you'll say, I see you are smiling. I see your face and you are smiling. I think that means that you like it. I think you like this. And start getting that, because feelings and comments are very abstract. So you're adding that extra piece of instruction and a visual that can help them integrate it and understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's absolutely like amazing advice. I love using visuals, and I actually haven't done that before, using those visuals in that aspect of that way. But I'm definitely going to start doing that immediately. So thank you so much for that tip.
And then, I mean, that you could say, I can see you're frowning, and I think you don't like that. I think you don't like it because your face looks sad and your mouth is turning down and you have tears coming out of your eyes. I mean, you just break it down like that, depending on the age of the child, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are some really great tips. I actually was taking notes and I'm going to start implementing some of the things I wasn't doing. One of my favorite things about having different guests on here is not only do I get to provide information for the parents, but I often learn from you guys as well. So I certainly learned from you. Is there anything you wanted to add today before we close down?
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing that I forgot to say, the importance of pausing when you are doing your communication, and if you're pointing, you want to give that processing time, especially for a child that has sensory processing issues. They might be thinking about something else. They might be thinking about how itchy their shirt is, or they looking at a light, or they need that time to be able to maybe refocus and see what you're pointing to. And then if you're wanting them to point to it eventually, to give them that time to eventually do it. And so that would be that, giving that processing time, and then also visually and physically modeling you're doing what you want them to eventually do. So if you are wanting them to say the word and point to it, that's what you're doing. And they need to see that. And I always tell parents, think about how many times a typically developing baby hears the word mama before they ever say it. Probably like thousands. And it's the same with our kids. If we are wanting them to communicate in a different way, they need that repetition. They need to see it and hear it many, many, many different times.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, funny story on the pausing thing. So I was working with a child today and he's a teenager. So we were working on texting abbreviations and I'm on a Zoom with him so I can see him, but then we're also texting back and forth. And so I'm like sending him these abbreviations and I sent him this, you know, and he's supposed to tell me what the abbreviation means. So I sent him, I don't remember what it was, say FYI, and we're just going to call him Joe. Joe's not his name, we'll call him Joe. So Joe was not responding to me. So I'm on the Zoom and I'm like, Joe, aren't you going to respond? And he just looks at me, he's like, sorry. He's like, I was thinking about termites. I'm like, what? He's like, termites. Did you know they look like ants, but they're related to cockroaches? And I'm like, okay, well, that's like the mind of a child, right? Like, I'm thinking this kid's like totally ignoring me. He just like, hey, I'm just thinking about termites. So sometimes, you know, we have to realize that, especially for a child, especially if they have autism, oftentimes they're thinking about something else and they're not ignoring us or they're not choosing not to respond. Often I find as parents and practitioners, we prompt kids too early. You know, we say, oh, like count to 3 and then, you know, prompt the child if they don't respond. That child might need 10 seconds. Their brain processing speed, they may not be able to do it in 3 seconds. And you might be denying them the opportunity to be independent for a skill that they actually have if you're not, if you're not giving them enough time. And fluency comes, right? The more we improve executive functioning in general, the fluency will come with that. But sometimes you really just have to be patient. And sometimes a kid will just be thinking about termites while you're trying to teach them about texting abbreviations.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for sharing the tips with us. I know it's going to be super valuable to everyone who's watching it. If anyone wanted to find you on Instagram, find your website, what's the best way to do that?
The best way I would say is on Instagram. I'm at Beautiful Speech Life. And so you can find me there. And then I have all the other links there. And I always have some free offers if you click on the link in my bio. So you can find that there. And I have a little YouTube channel as well that I've been starting to put some videos on. So yeah, that would be great.
Perfect. And we'll link to all of those things in the comments of this video. So thank you so much for coming on here and thank you for watching this. If you watch this at the end, I just want to let you know your child is so lucky to have you. You're such a good parent for, you know, not everyone is spending their time, and a lot of people right now, everyone's home with this craziness going on. Some people are watching Netflix and you're sitting here trying to figure out how to help your child. So I want to commend you for that. You're amazing. I also have some free gifts for you if you want to head over to my website, hopeeducationservices.com. Right now, my entire ebook library is free. And I normally do charge for those books, but right now, just with everything going on, And being it's Autism Awareness Month, you can access all of those for free. So just go to hopeeducationservices.com. There's 6 books on there. Pick whichever ones you want. You can download them and I'll email them to you. So thank you so much, Anne, for coming on. I really hope we can work again together in the future. And I think this has been great for the audience.